the last one who arrives in the company to being the first GM ever at the company. We were like 15 people at the time. And from there, I moved to Novi Sad when I was, the idea was to get better at performance marketing and learn those things. So I specialized in marketing automation, lead generation, website personalization. We were doing some things that not people on this market are still not doing. And then it was about time that I start something on my own. So like since October, I'm building like funky marketing. Basically, I don't like to say an agency, but more of a team that's focused on generating consistent revenue for the companies with mostly inbound strategies and helping them grow and scale in the way that they should. So that's basically that. I mean, I've worked with so many industries and companies. I think more than 100 of them, and yeah, I'm excited for this and happy to share everything that I learned along the way.
Thank you, Nemanja. So to give quick context about me, I don't want to talk too long, but I'm a dual citizen of Spain and the United States. I was born in the United States, but I was raised in Barcelona in Spain, where I'm right now with my family. Hope everyone's doing well. I know times are a bit weird, but I appreciate you guys joining us. Then when I was 17, I moved to the United States again to play college basketball. I played 4 years in university over there. And I got my undergrad and my master's. And I started working in finance in Charlotte, North Carolina for a big bank. And I hated it. And a month later, I quit. All I knew how to do was write. When I was in college, because of NCAA rules, I couldn't work too much. So what I would do is like write college papers for my classmates for extra money, which was super illegal, but I had to make a bit of money somehow. So I knew that I could write. And what I decided to do was move back to Spain where costs are cheaper. Move back into my mom's apartment, live in a room and write all day. And that's what I did. I wrote on Quora 3 to 4 answers every day for 6 months. In the first 6 months, I had over a couple million views. And I wrote about everything that I was doing wrong in my life and business. Right? I didn't know anything. And all I could write was my failures. And that's what I was doing. Those 6 million views helped me get approached by some companies and some CEOs to ghostwrite for them as a freelance ghostwriter. And that's how I started as a freelance writer. And what that experience taught me was the power of personal branding first, because I built somehow of a personal branding in Quora. And it taught me that 2, inbound leads were really important because I hated selling and I was horrible at it. So I'm a terrible salesperson. I try to be, the Jordan Belfort of the world, the Wolf of Wall Street, but that's not me. So I need people to come to me if we want to work together. And from there, I started working with a lot of CEOs to grow their personal brands, trying to help them achieve what I did. And it turned into an agency where we now do ghostwriting for B2B CEOs, mostly in the United States. We do LinkedIn content, Twitter content. We help them start a podcast. And we also help them write for articles for Forbes, Entrepreneur Magazine, Inc. Magazine, all that stuff. So I specialize on B2B content marketing and personal branding. And I think that's what connects us, right, Nemanja? We operate in similar industries. We kind of have clients all over the world. And I think we do things a little bit different than what we see often others do. And we just like to share what we are doing, right? We're not preachers. We don't give advice that we don't do ourselves. So we try to walk the talk and show just what we're doing. And if you guys like it, you can take it and run with it. And if you don't like it, that's 100% fine.
Yeah. Basically that's it. And I will just go from there to introduce everybody to the topics. Just wanted to say hi to Bratislava, Alexandra, Nenad, Milena, Olivera, Duško, we already say hi to Philip and Joel. Thanks for joining us, guys. So today we wanted to get into the B2B Weekly by talking about the current state of the B2B industry. We can do like pre-corona and post-corona situations, but I think right now we are in better state than it was before corona when it comes to doing good things. And basically how it was before like a month or two ago. So it was sales before marketing. Definitely everywhere. I mean, sales people are the stars of the company still. Everybody's doing outbound compared to inbound and some other things. The alternative is usually SEO. We mostly have self-supported like systems when everybody's dependent on sales. We have small numbers of company trying to do demand generation, but not many of them are having great results with it. We are having so many companies without product market fit. Too much of a budget goes to sales compared to marketing. And one other thing that I'm seeing is that people have this opinion that great advertising takes huge budgets. So basically, this is where I would like to start and to go deeper into the topics about what's the current state and how we can work to change some things out.
Yeah, I think that's a good intro. If you guys watching have any questions, just unmute yourself and please ask anything that you guys have. But to talk about like the change, right, that I think Corona has brought to B2B is now we're seeing a lot more posts on LinkedIn, a lot more content talking about being empathetic, right? And we see a lot about now you have to have empathy, and now you have to care about your buyers, and now you have to understand their sales process and adapt your business to them because they're important. And my question is like, why now, right? What were you doing before that now you need empathy? Like it's what you were saying, Nemanja. I think we've had bad behaviors for B2B as salespeople, as marketers, and coming from the executive people of we're just gonna have a very transactional mindset towards acquiring new buyers. And what that means is a lot of outbound, a lot of automation, not building relationships, not personalizing anything. And we see that now that things have shaken up a little bit, that doesn't work. And honestly, it wasn't working before either. Because it might work short term, but it's not going to work to build a sustainable company. Because outbound eventually plateaus and you have to create new demand. And the way you do that is not by sending more emails or not by sending more cold LinkedIn outreach messages. It's about actually creating content and distributing it right so that people that are consuming, you actually give them value. I don't know if you've seen that, Nemanja, as well, that it's like, okay, so before you were just not caring about your buyers and now you do? Like, how did you expect to build a successful company by using the old practices?
Yeah, definitely. There's and I would like to extend on what you said with just using like this pandemia and crisis to pretend that you care is not actually caring about your customers. Your CEO just writing a statement is not a sign that you are actually caring about your customers. It's talking with them, not to them, and seeing how they are feeling, how you can help them solve their problems, that you are here for them. And I didn't see that many companies actually do that. they're basically, I want to use the example of why did I leave performance marketing? Just based on what you said, without looking at the empathy, at those things. And performance marketing also has a plateau. It works upon some moment, and then you need to rely on the brand, on your content, on that content machine that you have built. But if you didn't, I mean, you are left with nothing. You can just go and try to get more leads with some, I don't know, usually people are using those simple lead generation tactics like one page PDF and similar things, webinars, but like one page PDF won't get you anything. I mean, I like to compare it to the one night stand. You know, when you meet a girl, let's say on Tinder or wherever, and you get into the conversation, you both like each other, you go out, you drink, and you end up together. And when you wake up tomorrow, what do you see? What's the feeling? Is it the same as the last night? And it's the same if you are doing lead generation just for the sake of getting leads, because your lead magnets are not something that brings value to the person. I mean, you don't know what you will end up waking up tomorrow. What will you receive in your email? You know, and it's always that kind of conversation with that, and it shows how much do you care about the person, because that person actually sign up to receive something from you, a document or whatever, and you just gave them like 5 sentences about a certain topic. Right. And that's it.
I think the problem from that comes from what KPIs do we set, right? I think something that's really clear to me is that whatever you optimize for is what you get. So whatever the KPIs that you set, that's going to dictate different behaviors. And I think a lot of people in B2B, and if you guys want to share your examples from your companies as well of what KPIs you said, please do. But like if we think number of leads is the most important metric, what we're going to do is try to get as many leads as we can and not care about the quality of those leads. And when the key is to get volume of leads, then you need volume of salespeople to follow up and go after those leads. So you're also scaling by throwing salespeople in there instead of making sure you get the marketers who will help you increase the quality of your leads, which means you need less salespeople. They're happier because you're providing them and feeding them with leads that are ready to buy and that are coming inbound versus them having to send 1,000 emails to people that don't care about. So I think the metrics that we set here as B2B companies is what defines what behaviors do we take on. And Joel and I, who's here on the call, we were talking about the other day about the metrics that we set for my personal brand, right? And our content strategy. My personal brand is the only marketing strategy that we have. We don't send cold emails. We don't sell LinkedIn pitches. All we do is my personal brand. And we were talking about the key metrics, right? And the metric number 1 was inbound revenue. And that's the most important metric that we can have, because likes, comments, leads, all that doesn't pay rent. All that doesn't make payroll. All that I can pay my landlord with actual money. So that's what we optimize for. And that's the only thing that we care about. If we generate 3 leads, but all 3 leads close, then we're good with that. It's not about the number of leads that we generate. It's about how many of them actually give us money. What do you think about that, Nemanja?
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, we agree on everything that you said. I mean, we're not optimizing on the only strategy is not like my personal brand, but it's the experimentation field that I'm using to see what's working, what doesn't. I'm trying different things so I can see what can I implement for my clients. And this is the benefit of using LinkedIn today, where you can actually try different things, and you're not coming to your client as somebody who is just proposing something that, I don't know, I have heard or I have read an article somewhere that is working. No, I'm coming as somebody who has implemented certain things on my own brand or my own company, possibly with the other clients, and I'm talking from experience. And when it comes to KPIs, I never was, I'm also focused on inbound revenue, but I never was focused on like getting clients. I was focused on getting value to the right people. And when I do that, they are coming on their own. I mean, all of my current clients are, those are all mid-sized to huge companies, came to me using my own words, suggesting things that I'm writing on LinkedIn. So it's kind of happening. Like the last week, I was talking with a guy from also one of the big pharmaceutical company, and he came to me with certain set of questions. You know, it was just introduction call. But he came with a certain set of questions where he asked me, okay, so you wrote that you have an open rate of emails of 85%. Is that true? How did you get there? You wrote that you did these things connected to employer branding to this. Is it true? How did you get there?
Right.
You know, so people are actually listening and hearing what we are saying. And if you're saying the right thing to the right people, they are coming to work with you.
Right. That's something that I would recommend. I don't know if people here are more salespeople or marketers, but or both. I think there's going to be that's maybe a topic for another day. But it's what we're saying about being able to walk the talk and show that you're doing what you're telling your clients to do. That makes everything so much easier, right? And I think as marketers, we often forget that. Like we do things, and salespeople as well. We do things that to our buyers or to our prospects that we would never do for ourselves and that we would not enjoy. I once wrote an article called "Sell Like You Would Like to Be Sold," right? And it's about doing the things that you would like to be done to during your sales process, during your marketing strategies, right? Nobody likes to get 10 emails from cold people, follow up, Monday through Thursday. But why do we do that then? Why the second do we get in the office, we forget about what we enjoy and we do the things that we hate to our buyers? If we don't like it, why do we think our buyers are going to like it? And if we would not buy from it, why do we think our buyers would buy from it? So at the end of the day, it's like, see what you do for yourself, see what you like, and try to help your company do more of that, right? It's as simple as doing less things that people hate. And when it comes to like being able to walk the talk, that's also the best marketing strategy, right? Because, for example, when people come to us, they have seen, like with you, right, a LinkedIn post, a tweet, they might listen to one of my podcasts, and then they're like, but does it work? And I'm answer, if it didn't work, you would not be here. Because we found each other through a LinkedIn post that I wrote and I created content on for my personal brand. So it makes selling so much easier because you can prove it to them that they're actual proof that what you're doing in marketing is working. And that's a decision that we were making with Joel, who's here last weekend. We were thinking, should we add outreach to our strategy, or should we double down on the personal brand, which is the services that we offer as well? And we said, if we're going to fail, I'd rather fail doing something that feels right in my heart, and I'd rather fail doubling down on something that I believe in. And I think at the end of the day, that's the most important part, right? Like, does it feel good to you when you're sending a cadence that's automated and you're just blasting people and spamming them? If it doesn't, then you should probably not be doing that.
Yeah, true. I mean, if you're going on a volume, as you said, you need to go as general as possible because you are reaching so many people, and therefore you cannot get personal, and people will feel that.
Right. And it's what we say about, I was talking to a CEO the other day, and he was telling me how his outbound strategy was working like crazy, like super good. And I was like, okay, how many are you converting? And he was like, between 1 and 1.5%. And I was like, it's crazy to me how we consider that a success. And I know it's a good number, like I get it. But you are alienating 99% of your market. You're giving a bad experience to 99% of the people that would like to buy from you. If not now, maybe in 6 months. But now they won't, because you have spammed them over email for 2 weeks just to convert one client. And I get that one client is worth a lot of money. But is it really worth alienating the vast majority of your market? I don't know.
Yeah, and there's a question from Leo. What was your best email opener?
Yeah, tell us more about that. Tell us about how you're getting your high open rates and
Yeah,
what subject lines are you working.
Yeah, I mean, that thing that I shared, like 85%, was crazy. I mean, it's definitely not something that is persistent and that can be real. I mean, it was real, and I still got huge open rates, like more than 45% open rates on each mail, because I'm not sending emails to the people just to send them. Just to sell them something or those kind of things. I'm usually sending them useful recordings, useful educational videos, like these things, or I'm just writing an email out, busting my soul out of in the document, and just telling them something that are on my mind. I'm writing as I'm speaking. So good morning. It's 6:11 a.m. It's a morning, like I can hear the rooster, and it's time for me to write you an email. And it's short and informative, and I'm just saying directly what I want to say, and that's it. I'm not just writing for the sake of writing, not guiding them through the story. I think those long emails work sometimes. I cannot say that they don't work, but today, for the most part of the people, it's just short email, interesting, entertaining sometimes, and that's it. That's the thing that works. Give people value in an email. The good strategy is also writing emails like you're writing on LinkedIn.
Right.
That's also one of the things. And when it comes to the copywriting, and to, if we get more into that part, I think we often do things a little bit different when we write from our laptop or from our desktop. It's totally different than how we write if we are writing an SMS or in Messenger, or we're chatting with somebody. And this is the thing that we need to change, because we need to get more natural. We need to get more personal. And how do we do that? By writing as we speak. I mean, on Messenger, you won't write "we are." You will write "we're."
Right.
You're not gonna write "going to." You're gonna write "gonna." So it's those little things, and you can see it feels more natural. Also, one of the things that's working is using videos like Loom or Drift, not only in the email, but also now we can use them in direct messages on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So Drift has a direct integration, and they're great. I mean, when I'm sending like offer or trying to get the personal message, I'm recording myself and just put the video in the email.
Yeah, I've done that as well, and that actually kind of relates to the question that Joel just asked about how to personalize cold emails to connect with CEOs. But just to finish that point on like what's the best email opener, I think if it's an email list, it depends if it's a cold email. But if it's an email list,
yeah,
we've found for our clients that the subject line can change things, but it's not going to change dramatically. So it can change the open rate a little bit, but it's not going to like be the determinant factor. The most determinant factor is the relationship you have with your audience and what they're expecting to hear from you, not just on that email, but also on social media platforms. So the more that you can have a solid audience where they expect that every time you hit them with content, it's positive and valuable, then the open rate will always go high, no matter what the subject line. So the subject line might change 3, 4, 5%, but the relationship and the feeling that the audience has with you is what really marks if it's at 20, 25, or 45%. And I think that's what you do so well, because people that join your email list have consumed so much of your content before that they know.
Yeah, I mean,
they expect good things.
Basically, it works like any post is working. Like, first, you need people to actually open the email. So if the subject is good, they will open it. Then there's a header. If header is good, they will look at the body. If the body is good, they will look at the CTA. All of those parts has only one goal, and this is to get to the next one.
Yeah. We have another question about, do you use a proofreader? And you find it helpful. To me, personally, so English is my third language as well. I use a proofreader often, but I have also found that spelling mistakes are not that big of a deal. And that, like, I write with B2B CEOs that run multi-million-dollar companies every single day, multiple times a day. And they spell horrible. Like, they don't know how to write. And I spent 10 years trying to learn how to write in English, and they don't put periods, they don't put commas, like, they spell like shit. So I'd say if you are a foreigner, your English is not your native language, like, don't really give a fuck about if it's perfect. If it's good enough, it will be good enough. I don't know about you, but that's my experience.
Yeah, I'm using Grammarly, just it's always on, but I don't pay attention that much to it. Yeah, that's just that.
So going back to the other question that we have, how to personalize cold emails. One strategy I also use, like you, is using video, right? We've done Drift video a lot. They have a free plan.
Are you sending cold emails? You do?
I send cold emails or messages to invite people to podcast, but not to work together.
Yeah.
I haven't sent any cold emails to, like, I might do it one day. I'm not saying I won't, but I'm doubling down on content, and I send emails in. I'd love to have you on the podcast, and I found Drift Video, which they have a free plan that's really useful. And also, I think here the key part is to do your research, right? What I do, a cold email can take an hour easily, and 50 minutes of that's preparation. It might be 5 minutes of writing, but 55 minutes of research. And what I do is try to find a trigger, a connection between me and the other person that we can connect at a personal level, right? So if I found that they love basketball, I might write a joke about basketball. If I found that they love Game of Thrones, then I made a story about Game of Thrones. Like something that connects personally and that shows that email, if that email can be sent to 10 people, it's not a good email. It's not a good cold email. It has to be so clear that it's for them specifically and personalized to them. And then let your humor shine. I think humor is a big piece of not just humor, but your personality. So don't be afraid to make jokes with people that you don't know. If they don't like it, what are they going to do? Block you? Okay, whatever. There's 1,000 more. But stay true to yourself. That's what I found for.
I can extend to that because past years when I was working in a previous company, we were organizing the first online event dedicated to marketing automation called LeadCon, when we hosted I don't know, some big names like the Mikhail Dia, CEO of Analytics, like CEO of ManyChat, all the other people who are famous, let's say, in our industry. Yep. And what I found interesting is that people try to pitch those people with like you're going to grow your company, you're going to get into this market, those kind of things. And basically it's the thing that, what you said, you don't try to pitch or to sell the people with what won't work on you. I mean, you just have to think for a second, and how will a half an hour or 45 minutes of my lecture or a talk really get me into that market? It won't. But if you do a pitch as we will have like 50 people who are interested in that and that specific industry and knows about you and want to learn from you, to hear from you, and you can come and talk for half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour about you, about your company, what do you do, every CEO will go for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think you're 100% right on that. We have another question about what tools do we use for building a newsletter? Okay, so to send a newsletter, for sending emails, we do ConvertKit, which has a free plan until a certain number of users. And that's about it. Like just ConvertKit for us. Do you use something else?
I'm using GetRespond also at the moment. And before I was using Drift, MailChimp, Sendinblue I'm also using for a client. So I worked in marketing automation, so I've tried all of those things. I mean, Drift is now more turned to e-commerce industry. So they are basically for the bigger campaigns, companies, and email lists. And I just remember an example that I wanted to share with you guys. It's the small little campaign that we did for a language school, but it's how people are reacting to the emails. Because still there's a misunderstanding that people aren't reading emails. And so we did a little ebook, actually a workbook of German language. Like, I don't know, some articles in German language, something like that. And it was 3 parts of the workbooks. So basically they sign up to get the lead magnet, and they get the workbook, and then they got like 5 emails when we go deeper into each part of the workbook and really help them fill them out and learn certain things. And accidentally I turned off the 3rd email. So they were getting 4, but not the middle one. And in like 2 days after I did that, we received 6 or 7 messages on the client's Facebook. People were giving them 5-star reviews, because that was at the end, and saying it's really great, but just send us that 3rd email, because we really want to learn that one thing that's missing from the whole package. And that's where we saw that if we are really giving value to the people, they respect it and they're willing to go and give you a review. But just give me that one email that I didn't receive.
Yeah, we ran a similar campaign for a client where we share the 5 main lessons that he learned on the first year building an agency, and we have 5 days, 5 emails on 5 days. And we found that if you really send really good emails, people are going to love emails. So like for people that say email is dead, it's probably that you're not sending good emails, to be honest. Here, Barislav, you said you use Lemlist, and yes, where I've been thinking about using Lemlist.
I heard also some good things about them, especially for the outbound. Also, some guys from Serbia are working with them, so I'm familiar with what they do.
Yeah, I think the founder is French. And he looks like I haven't talked to him personally, but he looks like he knows what he's doing. And then the email verifiers, I forgot about that, but sometimes for sending emails, we do use it as well. But
they also
like
have that other product, which is like those automated comments on LinkedIn that you are seeing. They're also doing that part.
Yes. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I think you have to be careful with tools, right? Because tools are really attractive. They're really sexy. But at one point, hey, Eddie, how's it going?
Hey, Marty.
At one point, too many tools are going to make your process harder. So whether you're sending emails, whether you're doing an outreach campaign or doing content marketing, it really doesn't matter. There's going to be a point in time where more tools are not the solution. And reducing the number of tools is going to help you and make that process the more simple. And at the end of the day, the simpler the better, right? So I always try to minimize the number of tools that we use for anything. Internally, we just added Process Street to the tools that we use for our processes as well, and that's helpful. But most of the things that we try to do is no tools, or the less tools the better. What about you, Nemanja? What are you guys doing?
Sorry, can you repeat? I was just checking if Leo is here so we can answer his questions, and I missed the
No worries. What was his question? Let's answer it.
Yeah, I wanted to ask him directly, but anyway, I can read it. So, where do you really should invest your time more, LinkedIn or Facebook or Google, and what's the different cost of each and the trade-offs?
Okay, that's an interesting question. I think, first of all, there's no one answer that's going to help you. It depends on what business you're running. It depends on where your target audience is. The first step is always to reverse engineer where your audience hangs out online, and then go there, right? I think that's the number one step for all content marketing or paid ad strategy. And if your audience are CEOs in B2B, there's a very high likelihood that you have to go to LinkedIn. If your audience is people over 60, then you might have to go to Facebook. Like it really, each social media platform has a personality and has a target audience. So the first step I'd say always is reverse engineer, go deep in your research of where your target audience hangs out online, and go there. And then the second thing, it also depends on whether you're doing content or paid ads, right? If you're doing content, Facebook might not be the place for you because the organic reach is so low. But if you're doing paid ads, Facebook is the right place to go in most cases because it's the one with probably the cheapest cost per mile and etc. So those are the two things that I would say. First, reverse engineer where your audience hangs out, and two, understand what's the goal of the strategy. Is to create content, is to scale through paid advertising, and then decide what platform.
Yeah, I agree about the reverse engineering, but there's a thing that I have seen, and it is that people are everywhere. They are just behaving differently on each platform because
Right.
you are somebody else on LinkedIn and you want to be approached differently, or somebody else on Facebook you want to be approached differently, and on LinkedIn you're also somebody else. The only exceptions may be the CEOs and the C-level executives. They are on LinkedIn. I mean, you can target them on Facebook, but it all depends on the market and those kind of things. But everybody else, they're spending time everywhere. I mean, I'm talking about the C-level executive because they usually don't have much time. Right. And if they have time, they will use that time possibly on LinkedIn to meet somebody who is from the business world.
Right.
But I think you can also target them on Facebook. I'm doing that, and I have done it, just not by interest, but by function and position in the company.
Right. I think it's also important to consider two other things, right? Yes, they're everywhere, but in what mindset do you reach them at? So like they have to be in a mindset. When they're on LinkedIn, they're on work mindset. So I think they're more open to work ideas, right? If you reach a CEO on Instagram, it's not the same mindset that you're not hitting them in the right context, I believe. So that's one thing. And then the second thing is like, which platform is easy to reach them at and to target them specifically, right? I think LinkedIn, for example, you're able to connect with people who are your target audience exactly, and you can go really deep on that. Versus it's much harder to reach them at that level of specificity on Instagram, Facebook, all these other platforms. But each platform has a different role, right? Google PPC can be a great tool to capture intent. So people who are already looking for that solution, you can capture them and then retarget them on YouTube. While other platforms are better suited to build your brand. So I think it's important to know which intent you're trying to achieve. What's your goal here on this exact campaign before you choose the platform. That's what I see, right? A lot of people choosing platforms before deciding on a strategy or the goals of the campaign.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we need to separate how those platforms are working. I mean, Facebook is a push platform where we push the information towards people, and Google is the pull platform where people are coming to pull the information. So the intent, what you said, is totally different, and the state of mind in which we are catching people is also different. I mean, what I have seen working is that people have limit of like 3 minutes to read your case study, your article, to watch your video, whatever. Like 3 minutes is the time that you have to tell them something specific, something important that they will interact with. So basically what do I do and what do I suggest to people to do is to, if you are already going on ads like Facebook, Instagram, go with some specific articles, videos, or case studies, but consumable. Those that people can consume fast, they can just spend like 50 minutes on Facebook or on Instagram, and they will see your ad, because ads are working in the way that they will present the content to the right people at the time when they are most likely to consume it. And if it's like something that you have like pain points, information, solution, basically that's it. That's all that you need for somebody to see.
Right. But I think that goes back to what we were talking about, empathy, right? That's what really tactical empathy is about. Is when you run the ads, do you think they're going to consume a white paper that's 25 pages with no pictures and no videos, and it's boring as fuck? Like, they won't. They're scrolling Facebook to see pictures of their mother, right? Like, they're not on the mindset of reading a huge white paper. But if you present them an article that's 2 minutes, 3 minutes, that's optimized for mobile, then it's a different experience. And that's what we were talking about at the beginning about, like, being empathetic as marketers. That's what it really means, right? Like, understanding what the consumer of your ad or your content is looking for or needs at that specific point in time, and then giving that to them. Would you like them to read a white paper that's 40 pages? For sure. But that's what you would like as the marketer, not what they would like as the buyer. And we need to do what they like, because it's about them, especially in B2B, right?
Yeah.
When we're doing direct to consumer, then it's a different experience. You might, if you're selling t-shirts, then it's a transactional mindset, right? You can buy an impulsive t-shirt that's $20, but nobody buys impulsively a $5,000 a month retainer. So that's when I think B2B marketers and salespeople need to adjust to that. And the last thought I had on choosing the platforms, especially when you're doing ads, is like understanding that not all platforms are going to fit for you, right? If you do LinkedIn, you probably need LinkedIn ads. You probably need a bigger budget to play in that space. And if you need a bigger budget, then you probably need a higher LTV of your clients. So if the LTV of your client is $2,000, there's a high likelihood that LinkedIn's not going to work for you in terms of paid ads. You might have to do content, or you might have to do paid ads somewhere else. But if you have a LTV of 10,000 plus, then you're in a much better position to utilize LinkedIn, despite the higher cost per miles and all that. So that's my last thought on choosing platforms. I don't know if you have anything to add there, Nemanja.
Yeah, I would just agree. Guys, if you have any questions, be free to drop them in the chat. We had another question from Davor. He said he'll come up, but he's not here. So anyway, I'm gonna answer it. He said like, let me just read the question. I've been working in an industry for a while. 4+ years in the IT startups. I've been through most of the roles, but I've been attracted with one lately, and it is the COO. So his question is, how do you get to the COO role? So I can answer that because I worked in that position. It might be a little bit.
No idea. So
yeah, it might be a little bit different because I worked in that role basically as a GM also. Basically, it was COO role. But anyway, how did I get there? By showing that that I can do those things. By an example, I had the luck that very early in my career, I was let's say promoted to be a GM. But how did it happen? Like, I've been organizing all the other guys in the company who will do what. I became a team leader. Then I became a GM. And when I became a GM, like, the owners gave me the full freedom and responsibility. And before that role, I was writing things that aren't good in the company and going with to them with that list. And they say, okay, go ahead and implement it. And I didn't hear from them for like 2 weeks or a month. Mm-hmm. And I had a pressure from the team. We didn't have any processes. So I went out and create all of them from the scratch. So how each team is going to work, how are the processes of each position in the company, how are we reporting, what are we measuring, how are we doing sales, how are we doing reporting calls, everything. And I'm grateful for them forever for doing that. I mean, you probably know I have seen you're interacting with Marko Dinic in your posts.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was one of the owners in the company. And what was interesting that I was sharing everything. I mean, if you go to my Medium, you can see how the process went and how did I share those things. And basically, I got a call from another company, and he said, "Would you come here to be director of operation, basically to do what you did over there, and to go more into the marketing automation, website personalization, and those kind of things." And this is how I got the call to continue doing those things. But basically doing the work and showing the results and the struggle through the process.
Right, but I think that's how you get any roles, right? Especially right now.
Exactly.
Like being proactive and doing more than what you've been asked to do. And if you can share that on public, right? I think we've seen because of the virus, a lot of people getting laid off, which is really sad and sucks. So I've seen a lot of people like reach out to me and seeing how they can get jobs as well. And personally, I think you get jobs the same way you get clients, right? Like you have to build a personal brand, you have to add value, you have to have an outreach strategy, and you have to understand what they want, right? So I always compare both things. It's both going after something and reaching out basically to the same people, right? So when what you were doing, right, being proactive, adding value, documenting that in public, and creating content that helps you build a personal brand, then somebody else approaches you, right? Building a personal brand is not just for the CEO. Obviously, the CEO is the leader of the company, is probably the most client-facing person in the organization. But each individual within the company can have a personal brand and can create content, and that helps both the company and themselves, right? Like they're getting better, they're connecting with people, they're building their network. That can also generate inbound leads for the company. But whether you're still working or whether you're unemployed this time, whether you're a CEO, I think creating content, building a personal brand is super important. And there's only upside of it. Like there's no downside of creating content. Like
just wanted to set something interesting. When you said like sharing, learning what things you should share, what are the things that you shouldn't share. Well, I had to go through it and learning the hard way. Sometimes I was just sharing things that I consider that are okay, but it wasn't okay for the CEO, the company that I work. And I've been through the whole thing. I mean, doing the things that I'm not supposed to do, but feeling that those things are right. Those are the right things to be done. And because of that, I've been through all kind of things. Like my salary was cut off, and all kind of. I mean, I was the second man in the company, but I was convinced that I'm doing the right thing, and I'm still am. So I don't care about the money, but that was the right thing to do. And this is how I grew and how I learned things. Basically, not just by listening, but to trying out things, listening not to the other people, but listening to my inner voice, and just seeing how the things are working and interacting with that.
Yeah, I had a friend on LinkedIn who's young. He's 22, 23, who has been posting content on LinkedIn. He works for a marketing organization, and he was telling me how his CEO hates that he puts out content on LinkedIn, even though it has brought him 2 clients, and he is like employee number 57, right? So one of the things that we were talking is sometimes like it's not the right place to do it. Like I asked him, is it so important for you that you would change jobs for it? And he was like, absolutely. And I was like, okay, then you have to figure out how to do it, right? But if creating content, if sharing in public, if what you learn and you want to put out to the world is important to you, then you have to deal with the consequences, especially if you're not the CEO, right? If you're the employee, you have to deal with the consequences and see if it's important enough for you to get fired sometimes, and you really believe in it, or if it's not that important to you and then you stop posting and nobody forgets it and nobody cares, right? That's a very personal decision that my friend was dealing, and it seems like you dealt in the past as well.
Yeah, I can relate to that. And there are so many companies that I'm seeing now, and when I'm hosting the workshops for LinkedIn, because I'm doing now these master classes to the huge companies, to employees of the huge companies, I'm seeing that they are still unsure if they should allow their employees to post on their LinkedIn with their own voice, if the CEO of the company should be present over there with more than just announcement. Those kind of things are still a taboo topic for many companies. And it's because they're looking at things from some different perspective. Yep. They never went out to get customers themselves. They never went through the process. Most of the companies, as we said, are doing inbound, outbound cold calling, those kind of things, and it doesn't give you the direct contact with the customer, with the client. Right. It's just you're blasting everybody or just calling people. And I'm not saying it's not working. For some company, it still works. I think the combination is always the best for a majority of the companies. But you need to go through the process, no matter where are you in the company, to learn some things.
Yeah, I think like 2 thoughts on that. I think once a lot of CEOs are scared of their employees posting content and creating content because one, they're not marketing driven, right? They're technically driven and they don't get the marketing part. Very few are both. And 2, which I think is really funny, they're scared of the negative repercussions of creating content, but they're not scared of the the salespeople reaching out to 99% of the market with a spam cold email, right? Like that gives a bad impression.
Yeah, you crushed it there. Yeah, that's it.
Like that's bad. Your sales people like sending an email that has sent to 1,000 people and hasn't changed one little word because it's automated. That gives a bad impression of your brand, and that gives a negative experience. Your employee talking about the mental health of being a designer and how he's struggling with it and how he's trying to find things to overcome that, that's a positive experience, right? So at the end of the day, we're scared of stuff. We're scared of like, what if they grow a personal brand and they leave? What if they don't and they stay, right? Like, I think as CEOs, I'm one myself. One of my employees is here on the call today. Like, I would love for him to create content, right? Like, and he does. And he creates content for himself and for clients. So that's something that I need as a CEO myself. I believe in content so much, and if he does it, I have to support it no matter what. Because I'd rather him do that than send spam cold LinkedIn messages to 1 million people. But yeah, that's my thought on utilizing personal brands of employees and CEOs to like generate the inbound and build the brand.
Yeah, we opened so many topics. My head would get chopped.
Well, we have weeks to cover them all. So I think this was a good first episode, right?
Yeah. If guys, do you have any more questions?
Yes, I'm Eddie here. I have one last question. I heard that LinkedIn is gonna have stories like Instagram and Snapchat. What are your thoughts about that? You think that makes the platform better or worse?
I love it. I think I've been waiting for it because the problem with LinkedIn is that you can only post so many times a day, right? Like LinkedIn posts eat they're like cannibals. They eat the audience of the previous post. So I've found that there's other posts that are not worth a LinkedIn post, but I would love to share. And I would love to grow my brand through images as well on LinkedIn. And I think stories provide that one-on-one communication daily that you can put 8, 10, 20 pieces of content every day. And that LinkedIn posts don't allow you to do it. I think stories are the best Instagram feature. And I think when you pass it to business, it's going to be a game changer. And any CEO that wants to grow their personal brand on LinkedIn should be putting out stories when they come up. What do you think, Nemanja?
Oh, I'm totally opposite.
Really?
We finally disagree.
Good.
We agree that stories are the best thing on Instagram, and they're great in communicating one-on-one with everybody who are watching the stories. But on LinkedIn, I didn't hear that stories are coming. I mean, those stories were there stories about stories coming to LinkedIn were there for months, but nothing.
I've heard more rumors of that coming in. I don't know if it's just a trend, but I've also heard that.
Yeah, and I have the same opinion about it as I had about LinkedIn Live if it was an option for everybody to use it. Because there are so many people who think that they know a thing or two about business. They are just entrepreneurs, like they have a local shop, whatever, and they think that they know so many things. Therefore, they would like to share it. But on Facebook, they cannot do it because family, friends, and everybody would make fun of them most of the time. I mean, that's how it happens on Facebook. But if they share it on LinkedIn, they don't have family and friends over there. It's a business platform, so they will feel more free to share all kinds of things. And then when they do, not that many people have something specific to say and can talk from experience. So majority of the content will be polluted and it will be spammy. So this is how I see it and how I see that that it will happen. I mean, luckily we didn't get LinkedIn Live option for everybody. And that's great. I like that how they did that part. Not even I can get the option. I don't know about you.
No, I can't either. Not yet.
Yeah, but anyway, that's my point of view. I think that right now all kind of posts are working great. Diversity is the biggest thing that you can do about yourself on LinkedIn. I mean, text posts are getting more views than videos, but if you don't have videos, people won't get to know you.
Right.
They won't see and feel you. And also the thing that you are doing right now with audio, visualizing audio, that's also a thing how you can get through the voice, tell the message in a specific way and reach more people on a personal level too.
Right. I think LinkedIn stories, obviously, they're easier to produce than LinkedIn written content, right? Which allows for different type of content. Like I would not share on LinkedIn, like my preparation for the meeting on a quick video that it's 30 seconds, but I would share it on a LinkedIn story, right? So I think it allows a different context and provides a more behind the scenes look at what lives of the entrepreneurs really are. So I think it brings the best out of Instagram to LinkedIn. And I think it's going to help LinkedIn a lot. Like I've been waiting for that. But we were talking with Joel, like whenever they come up, if we're allowed to put stories, like we need to invest in that. Because especially at the beginning, right? Because when companies introduce a new feature, they always promote it at first. So they give you more reach. So we need to be the first people putting out stories on LinkedIn when they come up. And regarding of like people coming in and putting out content that's not good, I think that happens everywhere. The best content is gonna like still come to the top, right? The market is the one that decides whether your content is good or not. So stories are gonna be what another example of that, of just letting the good stuff come up. But yeah, I think it's gonna allow, like for example, for sending messages, right? Like stories allow people on Instagram to like swipe up and then DM one-on-one. And I think that promotes one-on-one conversations on LinkedIn. That's going to be huge, right? Like what if the CEO of the company puts out a story before a meeting and then you can just swipe up and say, I was there last week. Then you can have a one-on-one conversation. So I think they're going to be an amazing future personally.
Let's see. I think it's going to be different than Instagram. So let's wait and see. And I agree with what you said about using new feature when the platform presents them. Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I don't know how it's going to look on like desktop, right? Because Instagram is only for phone, but a lot of people use LinkedIn on the web, on desktop.
That's totally wrong. I don't know if you have noticed, but mobile app for LinkedIn has
I know
many
it's coming
more
up.
options and more things that you can use for the advanced search, those kind of things that you don't have on a desktop version of the platform.
Right. I don't know. I guess we'll see, but I do think they introduce new opportunities, and it's worth testing at least. I think that's all that we have. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out or right now, but
anytime. I mean, during the week, if you have some short things that we can just overlook and give you advice, that's cool. If there are some that require longer answers, I mean, we will answer next week during the B2B Weekly.
Yeah. And yeah, I put out my links to social media platforms on the Zoom group chat. If you guys want to connect with me or with Nemanja, please feel free. And I really appreciate all your time. I know it's an hour and 6 minutes that we've gone for. At 6-7 p.m. in Europe, it's time to sunbathe in the balcony. But yeah, I appreciate you guys. We'll see each other next Wednesday, 6 p.m. Central European time, 12 p.m. Eastern Europe.
Looking forward to it. Thank you, guys.
All right, guys. Thank you.